45 years in keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week, located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out. All right, metalheads, I'm being joined right now with Dale from Hands of Attrition over in the UK, and it's kind of late over there for them at this time because it's I usually record these in the evening, and you are like 6 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, I think it's 5 in total, so it's 11 p.m. for me. But you know what? These things are to be done in the evening for me anyway. It's much easier, so I'd rather stay up late, with the metalheads and actually do an interview properly. So yeah, let's do it now.
For sure, man. Yeah, I just remember coming home one day and recording an episode with Tony Dolan, and we ended up going past 1 o'clock in the morning talking for him.
Wow.
And he's and he's super fitness, gets up at 4 in the morning to go to the gym type stuff. I'm not that guy.
That's not me either.
But he is. And it was wild because it's wow, man, you're up late. You got to get up in a couple of hours. He's like, oh, that's cool.
Take one on the chin for the day.
I always like to ask because I'm in the Midwest, and here in January and stuff, February, and I haven't decided when this is going to hit in the schedule yet. Yep. But we're about to hit our first 1 degree Fahrenheit day.
Okay.
And that sucks because for us, 32 degrees is 0 for you.
Yeah, it's freezing, yeah. Isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're in centigrade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's negative. It would be negative freezing for you. So it's no.
I've had some snow hit the ground Monday of this week. Definitely snow hit the ground for about 2 hours, and then it was gone. And then I woke up in the morning, I think it was 5 degrees, so Celsius. So I think that's what we're talking 40 Fahrenheit, somewhere around there.
Probably. I don't know the formula, and
I can teach you if you like.
I suck in school. That's why I podcast. And that's why I play metal fucking music. And that's why I work in an auto parts store. Sometimes you need maths
in metal.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, so it's getting cold there too.
Yeah, definitely getting cold here. Yeah, I'm constantly in a hoodie in the house and hairs down to keep the neck warm and everything.
Now, where are you all actually based at? Because on
Birmingham.
The promo, I see that it says West-Midlands, but then I see on other stuff it says London.
Yeah, I suppose one of the things that you're finding is that we work with a mix engineer that is in London way. So Justin Paul Hill is our mix engineer. He's been working with us since day one. He's done big bands such as Hacktivists and Polaris and bands like that, and he does the 500 now, so he's well rooted in metal really, and he comes from the band Sixth, so he's the vocalist for Sixth. So some of our stuff I suppose gets a little bit of a London mix, but the lads are actually from Birmingham, so we're all in Birmingham ourselves, so that's where we're all from.
Man, I don't know what it is down there. What is it with Birmingham?
Do you know what? It's got to be the accessibility. It's got to be the accessibility of rehearsal spaces, I think, anyway. We have so many rehearsal rooms.
There's nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do but go and play music. And do you know what? I think for what it's worth, we've had big venues in Birmingham. We've had very close to the West-Midlands, Download Festival is literally an hour from my house. we're all kind of metalheads at heart, let's say. So, and then
Right.
with the abundance of bands that have come from Birmingham, as you say, Sabbath and Judas Priest and all the rest of those guys, the fantastic bands, you kind of just get a taste for it. And it's like, what do we do? Let's go play metal because there's a rehearsal room down there where we can make as much noise as we like.
Okay, so I have to ask, are you a real Brummie?
I am a real Brummie, unfortunately. So,
Oh yeah.
born in Sutton Coldfield, it's a little bit posh, quote unquote. It's not that posh if you're actually from Birmingham, but it appears to be. But now I live in a place called Cradley Heath, which is technically the Black Country. So proper Brummie, proper Black Country area. I just don't come with the thick accent, if you will. So
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely not as thick,
yeah.
which is some of them you just can't fucking understand. At least I can't. but
I
but
live here and
honestly,
I can't. Trust me, it's fine. You're not alone on that one.
but I love it because it's such a rich culture for metal in general.
Yeah.
Uh, for 50 plus years, dating back into the 60s with Sabbath and into the 70s with Priest and everybody else who has come from there,
Mm.
since it's crazy and I love it. And honestly, I hope to visit Birmingham one day.
Yeah, do you know there is loads to do. I mean, the venues have slimmed out since the days of the 80s and 90s and even probably since the turn of the century, 2000s. The
Sure.
venues have slimmed out of such, and I think that's probably true for everywhere in the UK and for some other countries as well, especially when it comes to metal. But when you find those gems of venues, they're still hitting out rock and metal shows pretty much every night. So you can go out on a Monday and find a gig. You can go out on a Wednesday and still find a gig. It's not just landlocked to the weekends. So every
That's
day there's
awesome.
something still going on. So you will find yourself a very busy man when you hit Birmingham.
And what in either no door or what, like a 5 pound entry or something,
if
or
if that sometimes, yeah, some of the venues do free entry just because getting those numbers of people in, unfortunately it's a difficult way in running venues these days. I think less people are inclined to just
sure.
go out on the whim. So yeah, you're right. I think £5 on the door is probably the extent of where it gets. Maybe a couple of quid if you do it advanced a few days beforehand. So you'll
Yeah,
get
sure.
yourself a good night out with just sort of 20-30 pounds in your pocket in a metal place still.
Yeah, and here, like here in America, it's completely the I don't know if you've ever been here or not, but it's quite, the opposite. You might spend $10 on a door fee and then
Hmm.
whatever you drink, so you might have to take $40-50 for the show just
Okay,
to
yeah.
have, depending on where you go, because we have venues that serve like $9 beers and shit like that,
No, we don't have those. The extent
which
of
we're
our
pretty
beers
close
probably four.
in damn, man. See, we're pretty close in exchange rate right now
Yeah,
for
it's not too bad. Yeah, for
yeah,
you
so
guys
it's
anyway,
it's
not for
not like
us.
it used to be.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we're taking like 40-50 bucks and you're taking like 20.
20-30. Yeah,
You're
it's pretty
and
close
that's
still.
what and you're spending it on band merch.
Mostly,
Right?
yeah, yeah. And,
Yeah.
and we're trying to sell the damn stuff, so
So when it comes with being a Brummie, uh are you when it comes to the question, Sabbath or
here we
Zeppelin,
go.
Sabbath or Zeppelin, who would you pick?
I'm gonna give you the option to guess. What do you think?
I'm definitely gonna go with Sabbath.
Oh, you're correct, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of
It's got to be
course. So how
Sabbath.
many times have you seen them at the NEC?
Do you know what? Genuinely none. No
What?
times at all. The time I saw Sabbath was at Download Festival, actually. They headlined on the
Nice.
Sunday. They closed it. So do you know what? I probably couldn't have picked a better way to see them, for me anyway,
Oh
because it was
shit.
just raw Sabbath. They had the whole outside venue, they had the whole stage to do what they want with, and it was close to an hour and a half they were on stage for. It was a long, long show.
Right.
I think it was heading up to midnight by the time they'd even stopped playing, and that's pretty unheard of at Download. It's kind of normally 11 o'clock cutoff, but these guys
Especially
just
on a
kept
Sunday
going.
night. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they just kept going. It was insane.
Nice. What year was that? If you don't.
Oh, you're testing me. 2014, maybe?
Okay, cool. So
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so yeah, it was within the last decade. So
Yeah, it
hell
was
yeah.
within the last time they did like a kind of I believe at the time they definitely did a UK tour, but I think they went to the
Yeah.
States as well at that
Yes, they
time.
did. It was
Yeah,
like the 13 tour. For the album 13, where Brad Wilk was playing drums, I believe, or Tommy Clufettos, one of the two, was
No, I think it
playing
was
drums.
Brad. I think it was
I think
Brad
it
when
was
I saw them.
Brad Wilk, yeah. Because I know Tommy had played with him at one time. See, this is where we derail and get off on tangents and
That's
stuff,
all
which is totally cool.
It's a good tangent.
Yeah, because it's about, the Godfathers of heavy metal. The reason why we're all here. I sport the Hand of Doom tattoo
Very
on
nice.
my arm just because I am a huge Iommi fan, and Geezer, of course, because I'm a bass player. But we're here for Hands of Attrition because you all are putting out a new single called They Live On.
Yep, absolutely.
So you haven't actually had a full length since 2020.
Yeah, exactly that. Few reasons behind that. We've had a bit of a shift in members. We were 5
in membership?
At that time. Membership, I was going to say, yeah, we don't do a membership. There's no trials. It's just members. Yeah, so we were 5. we hope. We were 5 and now we're 4. And to be honest, the 4 that we have are probably that much more connected, I'd say. We can get together more often than we did when we were a 5. And credit to Tom and Chris, the 2 members that are no longer with us. They put a hell of a shift in. They really worked hard to help knock that album out. But it just kind of ran its course. And then, now that we're 4, our new rhythm guitarist took over vocals as well. So he's come in and done the job of 2 people, and he's just nailing it. We couldn't ask for more of him. So now that the position we're in, we've actually got more flexibility to release more material quickly. So we're not going to go down the album route so much as what we probably thought we were going to way back when. We're just going to fire singles out and hopefully just stay in people's faces, if you will, respectively, but aggressively at the same time, So we've got more music that has already been recorded and mixed and mastered by Justin. And then we've got 2 other songs that we're going to be completing by March. They'll get mixed and mastered as well, so they'll be out. So you're talking in the region of 6 to 8 singles being released this year, which could progress to an album. But we just think we can get our best music out quickly these days.
For sure. And I think that's the major labels are taking a page out of our independent book, as it were, when it comes to that, because I see exactly what you just said. We might release these 6 or 8 songs, and that might become a collection of music. Yeah. I think these bigger bands are doing that these days, where they're releasing 4 or 5 singles 8 months before the album's even due. Yeah. Before a release date. So I totally get that. And I think in today's market with such a streamability, where it's kind of a catch-22 for me, to use a cliche here, because what it does is I hate the streaming process because it's what it is, but yet I'm a podcaster, so it's a necessary evil for me, just like anything with YouTube and such. But the thing with it is I totally get it. It needs to be done, and we all bitch about the money and not making any off of it, and they do, and so on and so forth. Contact your governments. They're the ones that and I know that's something fucking stupid, but fuck it.
No, I think you're on the right. Path there. I mean, look at it from the angle of the people that have created these platforms. So you look at Spotify, and credit to them what they've created. They get to pull the strings, and if they want bands to release music every 2 months or every 2 weeks,
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
It's the same way terrestrial radio. It's the same way terrestrial radio, especially in America, when it become corporate based.
Yep.
How it changed, because then you had X bands, AC/DC, Leonard Skinner, all these classic bands that were already on because of establishment and shit like that. But when they had all these corporations come in, then they started signing contracts with these bands individually and saying, well, sign over X amount of your catalog for us to play, and we'll shoot you a check of X amount of dollars each year.
Exactly. Yeah. So
And
that's pay for
Spotify,
streams, isn't it? It's the same thing.
yeah, it is exactly the
Yeah.
same thing. And that's why in America, for example, you will never hear out of any corporate stations, most of them don't play music in the mornings because that is, by royalty rate, the most expensive time is morning drive.
Yeah, people driving to work, of course,
Yeah.
commuting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so they put on talk shows.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose
So
it's the
they don't
same
have to
on like the
play.
return home as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
and
interesting you say that, because we have this thing in the UK. Not every radio station does it, but they label it as like drive time. And you're
Yep.
right, they just talk. And
mhm.
it's like, I'm not interested in talking. I want to listen to some music to get home. So what do I put on? Spotify.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
Spotify's and Pandora's and
Deezer, Tidal.
yeah, Deezer, Tidal, all the Tidal actually pays pretty well apparently.
It's not bad. I believe it's 0.13th of a pence. So
Right.
whereas
But
Spotify is like 0.060th of a pence. So it's like
yes.
it's getting on to be like 5 times more per stream, which
And
is better.
and
But
Pandora is like 0.010th of a
yeah,
pence. It's the worst.
terrible. I
It is the
suppose it
worst.
comes down to supply and demand, though, doesn't it? Because if Spotify was to lift their rates of payment, you look at the biggest artists that are getting 1 billion monthly listeners, how much extra would they be paying those guys? And us at the bottom, we don't get those streams. Of course we don't. We're an independent band. How much
Right.
are we missing out on? Probably all not that much.
Well, and the interesting thing too is like, making sure, and this is where the business aspect of it comes up for me, and is where bands, you need to make sure you have your publishing in order. You need to make sure you have your writing in order. You need to affiliate with an agency like an ASCAP or BMI, somebody who will collect those for you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's like, why leave money on the table?
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's part of Spotify's argument, if I remember reading some of the information that was released from this, is that there's so many millions of unclaimed royalties that just sits there for probably years. And I think there's a limit
I
on
believe
how
it's
long it
7
can
years.
sit there. Yeah, that's something around that. I think I've read that too. And if you don't claim it, it just gets wasted. Now
Yes.
we do. You're right. We partner with, there's a company called PRS in the UK. Probably heard of them. Yeah, they allow for.
I get they're affiliated with ASCAP in America, so anything I get from anything I get over there automatically comes over here through ASCAP.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm totally familiar with that. And yeah, continue. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's absolutely fine. So, we can get performance-based royalties if we're played on airtime. We get performance-based royalties if we play to crowds and we register that performance. And, certain crowd sizes, you can get paid for that as well. But we do everything mostly through DistroKid, which is, do you know what? It's a fantastic service. I've heard good and bad reviews, but we've only ever had good things from that. And it collects it automatically from streams. Takes about a month or 2 for it to come in, and then we can just withdraw it. And it's super easy. Like, I can't complain about it. So we collect everything that we get. And, whether it's minimally or a big amount that we're able to collect, it's something that comes back into the band. We pay for marketing. We pay for all of our mixing and mastering. Luckily, we don't have to pay for recording because we do all of that ourselves in our studio. So we save on some money, and eventually we get some back. So it's a necessary evil. And I think as a band, you have to have some kind of business hat on at some point. Otherwise, you're wasting your own income and wasting what the band could potentially be.
For sure. And while say you do get, 30 or 40,000 spends on a song, that could still be, 10, 15, 20, $30, depending on, and, depending on the platform, etc. So, I mean, that $20, I know that could go in the gas tank.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose for anyone that's interested in these kind of numbers, and I'm not saying this for any kind of head boasting material or, you know, here's me blowing my own trumpet or us as a band, but we managed to withdraw like £200 off of basically, I think it was 300,000 streams across everything. That's not too bad. That actually, that allows us to pay for another song to come out. So those songs have done their work. That's what they were made for, to pay the way for the next lot of songs that come out. So for us, it's give and take, really. We know we're small, but we know we're going to get bigger at some point. So the money will come if we continue doing what we're doing.
And that's the whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
At this rate in the game, sky is the limit for anybody, because the label aspect is what the fuck ever at this point. It doesn't matter if you put something out on your own. It matters if it catches fire, and then can you match the demand for it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it takes. It doesn't take, you know, major label backing or even independent label backing for that matter, because no. And while it is cool to work with these people, because everybody's all in it for the love of the game at this point, I think. But yeah, I mean, there's so much cool aspect of everything with that.
Yeah. I mean, hand on heart, I think one of the things that we miss from like a label backing or some kind of agency working on our behalf is that someone else is pushing you and you get to concentrate more on the music side. I think that's why labels are there still. I mean, you know, labels obviously want to take their money, which is fair. They're doing work. You know, let's have an even distribution playing field here.
Well, yeah.
But as an artist,
they're paying
you've got
for certain things as well, like promotion and stuff like that. And that's where they recoup fees. And
but I think, you know, labels at this point in time are literally like news feeds that also talk about you. You know, everybody's talking about how do you maximize your social media? How do you maximize your YouTube videos? And the way to do that is having somebody else talk about you constantly.
Having likes and shares and followers.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you do that? By establishing an agency that have worked with the likes of Lamb of God or Threat Signal or, you know, Machine Head or Pantera, and then you get noticed. And it's like, these guys are getting big because they're on the same alumni, they call it, don't they, of artists that, you know, labels have worked with. So,
and you know, I will spout this until I'm blue in the face. Really good friends of mine, Snafu from Detroit. They're on Housecore Records, which is Phil's label from Pantera. Back last summer, they did a 3-show, like a weekender deal, where they opened for Pantera and Lamb of God. And this year, they're doing the same thing again. Wow. And then this time, they're doing some in Canada and stuff. So it's really cool. And I really dig that shit, because they're awesome dudes, and they put in the work, and they're actually getting the benefit of you know, being on something like that.
Yeah, and that's where the power comes in, doesn't it? Because you can play, you know, stage with these bigger bands. You're not sharing the stage with smaller guys that are in your same circle. You get to explore the bigger circles, or if you will, the smaller circles where there is a bit of a niche to what you're doing.
And I want to say this about that situation. And aside from what everybody's feelings are on that reimagining of Pantera, aside from that, they're doing the right thing by having those bands open for them.
Yeah,
because there's other bands out there that could be doing the same thing, that constantly have the same 2 or 3 bands on their bill because they're friends. And I'm not talking like, you know, on an independent deal. I'm talking strictly on an arena show type or amphitheater show type thing like that, you know. And I'll blatantly call out Steve Harris for that. You know, the nepotism of having the Raven Age on their last tour. I mean, I'm sorry.
I mean, if that's the way the inner circles walk, then and you know, I suppose when your revenue and your income is from your music and you don't have a day job, you have to think about exploiting those benefits, and who do you keep with you that's going to keep raising your revenue?
Yes, so, that's true.
You know, I suppose there is always a give and take. I hate to be the kind of
No,
seesaw
no,
effect
you're
there, but
absolutely
I
right
think you
because I
have to
didn't think
think
of it
like that
that way.
because jealousy starts to creep in, and you go, "Why are they always on that tour?" And it's like, well, they're on that tour because they're reliable. That's
Right.
why. You
Well,
can't
and
argue with reliability.
that's true because what I think Metallica took out Volbeat 2 tours in a row,
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, and those
And
guys were selling out anyway. Never
yeah,
mind the fact they were with Metallica. So Metallica knew that if Volbeat can sell out on their own, we can sell out on top of that and get bigger stadiums. Not that Metallica need any bigger stadiums because they basically
right.
take their own wherever they go these days. But
Yeah,
you see the
because now
point,
they offer tickets for like $8,000 and
Yeah, I've
shit,
seen
like
those.
on the
Yeah.
lighting truss in the last
Yeah,
tour.
within the first little diamond shape they create, you can get in that, can't you, as well now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, totally cool. Don't get me wrong, but like, no. So this has been an awesome conversation so far. I've just enjoyed, like, just the banter back and forth.
Me too, man.
Sometimes it gets away from me, like the actual topic of conversation of we're here to promote Hands of Attrition, and here
Don't
we're
worry about
talking
that. He'll
about
promote
the music
himself.
industry and everything else because it's like, wow, I haven't had one of these music industry conversations in a while, and I've really dug it.
Good, man. Yeah, well, happy to keep going off on tangents. I don't mind. Not a problem.
So when you said earlier, and my accent just came out there because I heard it, I say it. You said earlier that thankfully you don't have to pay for the recording because you all
Yep.
do that. Now, so are you all doing what? Okay, so like what I'm doing right now, I'm talking into the 7B and the Focusrite and running it through. I'm going to use an undisclosed program because it's a pirated program.
You do what you do, mate. You do
I
what you do.
delete that registration key every use. Um, so I'm sitting there and I'm doing it this way, and the home recording thing has come so far in the last 20 years, the last 10 even.
Yeah.
Now, are you all doing it that way? Are you doing proper, going to a studio? How are you doing it?
Bit of both. So
Okay.
fortunately for us, we actually have a lockup. So Rabana's studio in Birmingham, thank you guys for everything you provide us. We have our own space, which is our own full-on studio. We have acoustic treatment in there that we've built ourselves. We have full Midas preamps that we have within that as well. And we can record up to, I believe it's 24 microphones in one shot. So we can have the whole room microphoned up as much as we want to do. So our whole system is a audio rack that has, ADAT systems in there as well that eventually hits a USB interface, then goes into our recording software, and it lives at the studio. This thing doesn't move. It's set up always. We can record at the drop of a hat. And then when it comes to guitars, we do those DI, direct inputs.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
there's no amping. So we reamp inside the box or inside the mixing stage. And then with vocals, just like yourself, you set up your microphone and you just go at it. Now, a little unknown fact is that we don't use industry standard microphones because, one, I think you can spend all your life on the best gear in the world, but unless you're in the best room in the world, you're not going to get the best sound out of them. And we're in a rehearsal studio. It's fantastic, but it's not a drum studio. It's not wooden floors with treated walls and cavities in there. It's just a rehearsal space.
Right.
So we use Samson audio microphones. We've got some Behringers in there. These are cost-effective microphones, if you will. And the recording microphone is a SM58 on a stand with a pop filter running into Midas preamps. That's a 50 quid secondhand microphone that you can buy.
Yeah.
But the sound
but they
that we get out
stand the
of it,
test of time.
they do. Yeah, they definitely do. And you can pick up an SM7B or even the podcast version these days for what, £200, and you will get a similar sound because you're so close to it anyway.
Right.
You don't get the recording studio gloss of a vocal mic in the perfect space.
Oh, believe me, I totally get that because this show over the last 5 years between the radio station day, the radio days, as I call it, between that era, which was the first year, and everything
Yep.
since, the last 2 years I've used the 7B.
Mm.
But before that, I used a Super 55 because it was my vocal mic for my live show.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here total like Elvis mic. I'm trying to
Yeah.
pull it into frame here, if it will.
Yeah, I
Total
remember
Elvis
those.
mic.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have it on a boom arm. I had it on a desk stand, and it sat above my. It was so tall. It sat above my mouth,
Yeah.
and I was just like sitting super high up in the chair. But yeah, but I can't tell the audio difference on those episodes with that mic versus
Exactly.
this.
Because most
And
of the sound comes from your room, and that's the key part of it. So if we were to go out and spend £1,000 on microphones, you would not see a difference in our music. There might be slight differences to
now, if
audio
you
nerds,
changed the
and that's
room and did
fine.
that, that would be the
Exactly.
difference.
You know, you take cheap microphones into a fantastic room and you can tell. You put expensive microphones into a cheap room and it kind of sounds the same. And I might get burnt for that comment, but
Well,
we've
I
tried
get
it.
what you're saying,
You know,
though.
we've tried it. I mean, we've tried Shure drum microphones versus the Samson Audio. The Samson Audio for a full 7-piece set cost me £100. For the Shures, it's 400. They sound so similar in that
Right.
room that we might as well go for the £100 set. You know, it was just what it was at the time.
Yeah.
And
And I mean, and that's the thing with being an independent musician. You have to do things. And, shout out to my guy, Justin, from Metal on a Budget, because he is totally doing budget gear reviews. Does
okay,
it
yeah,
metal? Does it, is this going to be is this a good $50 pedal? Can you get a
exactly,
good
yeah,
sound out of it? Is it, can you pick one of these guitars up for $150 and it get the job done? Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do.
yeah,
There's so much, you have to be thrifty, because
yeah.
if
You
you
do, you
don't,
do, you do.
yeah. And once you get to the point of saying okay, and then upping your game each time out, and then you get the understanding of, wow, why didn't I do this before? But it takes
Yeah,
progression.
yeah. It is progression. I mean, the first album that we did, Colder Places, the same microphones have been used for everything we've ever done, and I believe what we have started to create now, we're looking at music in 2023 and 2024, our sound has progressed because we as musicians have got better. The equipment's the same, but we are able to use it in a better way. We can layer effects much better. And by the time we send everything over to Justin, who mixes it for us, he has the understanding and relationship with us now past 5 years. He knows what we want. So we're so close before we even send it to him that all of our ideas are in that recording. So when he loads our track up and he's ready to go on it, he has an idea of what it needs to be, but he just makes it sound, 110% better than what we could ever do. So what we've got, I feel privileged for what we have. It's taken a lot of work individually. So it's mainly myself and the lead guitarist, Anthony, who do a lot of the recording sessions. We're kind of audio nerds, if you like. And the other guys, we've got two J's in the band. So JB is the bassist because he's a bassist and his last name's Brunskill. So JB makes sense.
Dig.
And then normal J is just Jay and he's the vocalist and guitarist. So those guys are just happy that somebody else can do the work. It's in the audio side of things, and they'll turn up to the studio and they'll nail their parts, so much so that we don't even have to worry. Like, by the time we pass it to Justin, we know the quality's there because, again, we've worked and progressed on this. So what I mean by hybrid is that we've still got entry level equipment, but our techniques and our approach has changed to a better way of working with that equipment.
You can you're able to harness the ability to the maximum of what you're using.
Yeah. I mean, if I think retrospectively what we've got, £1,000 worth of equipment, between the DIs, between the rack system, between the microphones that we've got, the interface that we've got, you're talking about £1,000. And when you're looking at mixing music and booking one studio session, the average studio session in the UK right now is about 300 a day.
Right.
You've only recorded 3 songs and you've already spent £1,000 anyway. And that £300 a day is cheap. That's mostly for like drum tracking. By the time you get into vocal and guitar tracking, you're talking maybe 400 or 500 a day. So now you've only recorded 2 songs, but bite yourself, get the space and do it. I'm all for that.
For sure. I totally get that. So when you're in the zone musically,
yeah,
what are you trying to leave your fans with? Like from the album, from everything, from an album spectrum to or song spectrum to live, even when you're there in the zone, and this is say you're something that you're wholeheartedly into, and this message is here. What are you trying to leave to your people?
I'm going to start with the messaging part of that question. And historically, with the original vocalist Tom, he was very along the lines of mental health and kind of seeing the darkest within and pulling it into the light side of things. And we were a very mental health focused band. And you know what? We still are. There's been a lot that's affected us on a personal level with, people losses in families from band members as well. So we feel we're still on that mental health journey with each other. We're trying to help each other along the way. And that ultimately hits the music all the time. You just can't get away from that, because what you live in your own personal life is end up what you write, I think, anyway. So when it comes to the lyrical themes to things, we don't even start lyrics until the song is fully done. So we'll fully record the song, instruments completely, and then it's time to start thinking about lyrics. But kind of prior to that, how do we get to a song being what it is? We just all have to agree on it. And if that song, when you play it, just hits, and you all know that face that we make when a riff hits, you just go, oh, that is incredible. If that face gets made in the room, that riff is staying. And that's kind of where we sit. There's no formula. There's no, we have to put a verse here or a chorus there. It's just that face. If we make the face, or someone does, we add a boom, big boom in there as well. And it's like, oh, that is the riff. That stays.
Yes.
So, and honestly, we write on feeling. We really do.
And I'm going to sit here and say this, that about that is so fucking cool that you said it that way, because it's like when you're doing that in your band is one thing, because then you're just like, oh, this is fucking cool. But when you're doing that when somebody else's music too, because we all do that. There's that one, those songs that we hear that's just like, oh, son of a bitch, this is so good.
That's the feeling.
I had a moment. I've been jonesing on like a few songs here lately that have. I've been making the face too.
Yeah, and we all do it. Whether we're doing it when we're in our house, we're doing it when we're watching a band live. We all make that face, and that I'm not going to say we sit there and chase the face, but we sit there and think to ourselves, when in this song is that face going to appear? So. A little unknown fact as well about us is, I've said this in interviews before, that we write in a very different manner, or have done previously, where we're completely computer focused when it comes to writing. We rarely ever jammed in the room. And part of that was because of when we had the old members, there was accessibility issues, people not being able to get 5 people together in the room. It wasn't always easy to do. And the vocalist lived quite far away from us, and issues traveling and all those things that surround it. So we tended to write on computer first and then refine it when it came to the production side. So the whole of Colder Places, we never ever once played any of those songs in the room together until we started to learn them after we made the album, with the exception of They Come at Night and I'm Gone, because they were already singles, but everything else was brand new. So we wrote it on computer, we recorded it, and we released it, and then went, how do we play it?
That's awesome, because it's really cool, because when you say it like that, it's like I see how these one person bands do things, where they will program they'll have their guitar, they'll write the riff, but they will program a drum beat, and then they will write it's very much like writing it all one step at a time,
step by step, isn't it? Yeah.
And it almost sounds like you all did the exact same thing,
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
Yeah,
just
we just
individually.
passed it round to each other, so everybody had like a mini setup at home. The Focusrite you mentioned, or a Behringer interface, and then we just said, right, that's your part. Get on with it, and then bring it to the table. And if it's ready, we'll record you. There was a bit of refinement in the room, like, oh, that riff, it wasn't quite right compared to what I played, or refinements. But generally, we didn't play those songs as a band. And then ultimately after that album release, we're like, right, okay, we need to learn how to play these. But kind of since then, now we have the four of us, myself and
Right.
both the Jays, we can get in that room every week. So jamming on songs is becoming something we're incorporating. So I feel like the best of us is still yet to come. I hate to be that guy that says we haven't hit our potential yet. And I know that
But
sounds like the headphones are going to fall off because the head's growing, but I really do feel like we have a lot to offer. And
well, yeah, I agree. But I mean, you don't know what your maximum potential is going to be. None of
we
us do.
never will. We never
So, I
will. We're just going to
mean,
keep chasing it until we feel that we're at our peak.
and I think that's where has-beens come from
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
because they reach that plateau and this is the best thing I've ever done. And they
Yep.
start believing it. And then they never grow past it.
Yeah.
So fuck that. Fucking, I'm never satisfied.
Yeah.
Fucking keep learning, keep doing new shit, people.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to sit there as a musician and you're a bedroom musician, or you're somebody that does go and rehearse with another band, are you ever constantly feeling like you are the best you've ever been? No.
Right.
As a drummer, I never sit there and go, this is the best drummer I've ever been, because I'm constantly chasing the next time I can play something better or more intricate or more technical or faster or in a better
Okay.
way. Or, now we're getting into the territory of, how do we become the best band? Not even individual
Right.
players. We're still going to be expanding on this. So a little snippet into what we're doing next is the next song we have coming out is it's got everything. So we've had clean choruses in the past, we've had heavy breakdowns in the past, we've used a little bit of synths here and there. The next song that comes out, which is undisclosed title and all the rest of it, is a 7-minute anthem of what we feel that we could show in all directions as musicians. So I mean that in a very positive way. Like, it hasn't just got every riff thrown under the sun within it.
Sure.
But think about how metal bands have these wonderful cleans and wonderful choruses and
Right.
outros and intros. And we just felt that we needed a song that really showed what we can do. And the next song is going to be that. So when the next song comes out, we hope that people give it at least 30 seconds for it to start, because when it does explode, the face comes out and you're like, oh, that's where that song lives,
Hell
So,
yeah.
so we're
See,
trying.
that's awesome. Total awesomeness. But I am looking forward to it for sure. But we're going to go ahead and switch over to Derailed here. Derailed
Okay.
is 5 random questions and all about you as a person.
Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, the whole thing is there, the way we all do metal, the way we all do life, really.
Yeah.
So that's what this is the part that I truly live for, because, everything is everything and everything can be cool. Just, it's all about the positivity.
Let's do it.
What is your worst? That's an edit point. What is your worst vacation memory?
Ooh. I haven't been on a lot of vacations abroad, let's say. As a child, I did with my family, but not really since as an adult. But I do remember when I was 10, maybe, in Tenerife. I went on a family vacation with mum, dad, 2 brothers and my older sister as well. And I got this severe sunburn on my shoulders and back because I'd been in the swimming pool for like 6 hours in the height of the Spanish sun. And it got so bad that I had these kind of boils and blisters right on my back. They were huge. They were ready to burst and everything. And as a 10-year-old, you don't suffer with that very well. I was screaming, I was crying, I was begging in pain. And we had to go to the local kind of GP. and they gave us some gauzes, some cream, and that was literally day 3 on a 14-day holiday. So my parents were not happy with me.
Wow, that's harsh.
So yeah,
Dude, I remember
sunburn. Put your sun cream on, kids.
yeah, for sure. I grew up with red hair. It's since darkened, but yeah, the sunburn for me, man, that fair skin shit.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it.
Yeah, it was not nice. It was not nice. I
For
remember
sure.
that pain.
If you could go back and change the outcome of any one historical event, what would it be?
Historical event. You know what? You've got me on that one. I'm a little bit of a historian. So I'm gonna go with. I'm not gonna go with the one that everybody thinks you should say, and we all know what that one is. I'm gonna go
Oh, I'm
back.
totally gonna fucking say it. Kill Hitler.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with the casting the vote for Joseph Stalin in Russia because of the sheer amount of people that died through the famine.
Yeah.
I know millions and millions of Jews died due to the Germans. That is horrific. But hundreds of millions of Russians and Ukrainians died because of the famine caused by Joseph Stalin.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with that one.
Absolutely. And I think yeah, that's just fuck.
They're all messed up. They are.
Yeah.
But for
and
me, I think the
know,
Joseph Stalin one, because he was doing it to his own people willingly, not giving them food. It got to a point where humans weren't even being human anymore. And it did happen. It did happen in the Holocaust as well. I know, but
sure,
what happened on the
I know you're not
streets was just
discrediting
awful.
that. It's another horrible thing that would have that had happened. You know, obviously there's stuff here that's the same way for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the area of your life you want to focus on improving next?
I think for me personally, I've had 3 children. So I've got a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So Frankie, Elliot, and Delilah. Hello to all you guys. If you ever listen to the podcast in the future, shout out. And then, so as a dad that's gone through a couple of kids, you get the dad bod. You let yourself go. It becomes difficult to go to the gym. I need a health kick. Honestly, I do. So if I could change the healthiness in my lifestyle, I think I'd like to.
Wait a second. You're a drummer.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop me from eating cakes. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm diabetic, and that doesn't stop me from doing it either.
See, cakes are just good, man. Cakes, biscuits, I'll take them all day. But no, on a serious note, yeah, I need to look after my health. So
I believe there are cookies over here. Biscuits.
Yeah, cookies. Yeah, cookies live in this country in many different ways. We get them cookie dough, so it's not quite cooked. We get them definitely cooked, so they're crunchy. And then you can just buy the raw mixture that you can just eat in the shop.
Nice. There is a guy I watch on YouTube, Randy Santel. He's a competitive food eater, or a food challenge professional or some shit, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
And he did a UK tour this past year, and actually had went into a place somewhere over there, and the cookies that they had were just like enormous, like thick.
Yeah.
And you had to eat like 15 of them or some shit.
I mean, I could do a few, but not 15. Yeah.
Oh no, he did it. Spoiler alert.
I bet he annihilated it, didn't he? Yeah, I bet he did.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's done over 1,200 events in his life, and he's in his like mid-30s.
Wow. Well, round of applause for him for doing that. I could not do that.
But absolutely on the health thing, that's awesome, because it's everything. It's physical health, mental health, taking care of yourself because of that. So you said you had 3 children. Awesome. What do they call you?
It's just daddy. That's just what I am still. Even my 6-year-old's still daddy. I mean, he says dad, and he looks at me and he's like, did I say that right? And I'm like, yeah, go on, you can call me dad, fine. So we're still in the daddy spectrum, but one of them shifting. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if it's like father or something,
Nah,
father,
nah.
pop, pop.
just dad, daddy.
Dad,
That I'm
daddy,
fine with
daddy.
that.
Cool,
Yeah.
man. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Definitely don't have any children myself. But cool. I mean, it's awesome to be, you know, passing on the legacy,
Yeah.
as it were. Do you hope that they play music or
Yeah, so my eldest, Frankie Jude, has an electronic drum kit, which is just by the side of me. I won't show you because the dryer's also by the side of me as well,
nice?
doubling up on the room.
Sure,
uh,
sure.
so he's already playing drums, he's having drum lessons, and obviously I take him to the lockup to teach him. But with drums, I crucially think that you should be of a certain age because there's a lot of strain on your body because of it, your
Sure.
wrists for the rebound and what comes back into your hand, and then just the general understanding and discipline to listen to what I'm saying. 6-year-olds have a tendency to not listen to what you're saying.
For
And if you
sure.
try and say, hey, play the bass drum and the snare at the same time, they just hit everything. It's like, yeah, kind of, but not quite. So we had to wait for him to get to a point where he is able to listen. So Frankie will definitely play instruments. Elliot has started to show quite an interest in like a keyboard, even though he's
Oh,
3, he's trying. And as soon as you play music, Delilah, my youngest, my 1-year-old, she immediately dances. So they're all musicians to some level. You just got to
nice.
eke it out of them when they're old enough.
Yeah. And let the progression happen. That's totally
Mm.
cool. That's something that's interesting to me is hearing like back in like wait, especially here hearing people who started playing piano when they were like 3 or 4 years old. And by the time they're 6, they're like great already,
Yeah.
because of the learned in like
Muscle
the
memory
impression,
and everything.
the
Yeah.
muscle memory and the
Yeah.
impressionism with it. And that's something I wish I always was able to have learned at a young age with piano and actually have gotten to read like actual music.
Okay. Okay. Interesting fact for you. I learned this because I was trying to learn a second language. The adult brain is far more superior at learning a new skill than a child's brain. It's just the
Right.
fact that we understand our limitations and a child doesn't. So we already know we can't play the piano. So we don't apply ourselves in such a way that allows us to learn it because we're not open to this idea that we can play the piano, but a child isn't. My son will come up to me, 6-year-old Frankie goes, I can play drums. I'm like, yeah, you can. But in my head, I'm thinking, you can play a rock beat 4/4, and that's fantastic. But he thinks he can play drums, and it's wonderful for him to say that. Adults don't say that. They say, oh, I'm learning to play piano. I'm learning to play guitar. Tell yourself you can play it, and you will learn it. Trust me. It's a skill. It's not a talent. It's all practice. It's all learning this instrument. So just do it, man. Just get to those keys and just start playing because your brain knows how to learn already. It's done it thousands of times over. So just go ahead and do it. But be positive. Tell yourself you can and you will.
Damn. And see, that's usually the message I kind of want to leave people with on the last question of
Well, I'll
the
say
show.
it at the end.
No, that's totally fucking rad. Yes, absolutely. No, you're totally right with that.
Yeah.
And which is also interesting too, because as I have gotten older and looked more at music in like books and stuff, yeah, it has been, it's like, okay, I get this now. It's this is this and this is, and it's like, okay.
Familiarity. Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, it really becomes like I actually see the language it is written in based on what is here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly
And
that.
that's
And you've
totally
learned
fucking
music once before, so you'll definitely do it again much, much faster. And the same applies. And the reason I mention language is if you talk to somebody that can speak 2 languages, they can often speak more than that.
right.
They just don't say they're fluent in another language. So like French people, German people, people from like the Netherlands, they grow up learning 6 or 7 languages. So by the time they're an adult and they want to learn Chinese, it takes them weeks and they just learn a new language just like that
Right.
because they've already done it before.
Well, and
So
it's
you can
also
definitely do it again.
And also too, it's because of most of the surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the countries around. in the UK and Europe and stuff, because for you all, it's like going, like for us, it's like going to a different state.
Yeah.
Essentially. So that's definitely, I get that. Here in America, it's English and Spanish for the most part.
Yeah, of course. I suppose for Canada, it's kind of English and French, isn't it? So
yeah, for sure. Well, they also have like natives.
Okay.
Eskimo people, Eskimo.
Yeah, of course.
Inuit.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Inuit.
So,
Yeah,
and they have their own language as well. So totally cool. But we do have one more question. But before we get to it, as always, links are listed below. So give a like, a share, and a follow. Go buy merch. Go support in any way you can. Do all of the things and all of the stuff, right? And
absolutely.
Dale, do you have any shout outs you want to give today?
Just shout out to, I'm going to be really gimmicky here. Just shout out to Justin Hill. He's been with us since the start. I did shout him out earlier on. 5 years mixing and mastering this small band on his roster, but he's always there to support us. So thank you, Justin. Thank you to Hannah, who is JB's partner. Thank you to Emily, who is Jay's partner, wife. Thank you to Sarah, who is Ant's partner and fiance. And thank you to Beth, who is my fiance. Without our wives and partners, genuinely, I don't know how we could, keep going with this band. It takes time, it takes effort. We're out late in the evenings doing what we do, and we've all got children, and the wives put up with a lot of that slack. So, we're off gallivanting, playing music, and they're putting the kids to bed. So you have to shout out the partners, because they're helping us be the band we are, giving us the space to explore and giving us the time to play the shows that we get to do and hopefully be the best we can. So we've got to shout those out.
Definitely. Another interesting fun fact, you're a drummer and your partner's name is Beth. Peter, Chris, Beth, I hear you calling.
The cliches just keep coming around.
They do. It's almost like it's a heavy metal movie or something.
Yeah. Well, let's make it one. Come on, Netflix. Where are you?
Yeah, for sure. They're probably giving me a cease and desist right now.
Possibly.
They stole our idea. Which is always awesome. Yes, definitely shout out to everybody that bears the weight of the band life. Because it's not easy.
No,
it is a traveling. It's just like wrestling. It's just like the circus. It is a traveling circus for the most part. Stupid things happen all the time. Tires blow out, gear blows up, things break. Unbelievable situations happen. It really is. This is Spinal Tap for the most part.
No, it is. Yeah, no, you're right.
So definitely shout out to anybody that has to feel the weight of the goofy bullshit.
A band is like another child. You got to look after it and nurture it, and if you don't give it time, it's just never going to get anywhere. So the girls in our life and the women in our life really do give us the chance to be who we are, as sad as that sounds, but it's just the truth.
Hell yeah, man. So as we are now passing the midnight hour for you, the final question of today is, if you could watch any movie tonight, what would you watch and who would you watch it with?
Oh, now then, that is a good question. So, I'm a little bit of a movie nerd when it comes to like animated styled movies. I'm not a big thriller, like serial killers or like Saw or anything like that. The live action stuff can stay where it is. I'm all about the animation. So there's a kind of in-house joke we have within a couple of like friends circles of mine with Beth. And my favorite film is Monsters Inc. I don't care who knows, it just is. I used to watch that thing on VHS on video when I was like 6 years old. Every day I'd wake up in the morning, I'd put that video on and I'd watch the death out of that film. So Beth, if you're listening in the other room, you need to put Monsters Inc. on, because that's what we're going to watch. Don't care who knows.
Yeah, I love that film, and
Yeah.
I'm in my 40s now, and that film came out when I was in my 20s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't watch it until like 5 or 6 years ago. And I've still never seen any of the Toy Story films.
You have to watch those. You have to watch them, but
I never have.
Toy Story is a staple of anyone born in the 90s, I think. I think that's fair to say.
It is.
It came out in,
really
93 or something, 95, whatever it was, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a guy in my high school who his nickname was Woody because he looked like Woody. So, yeah.
With the hat and the boots or just...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
His name was Todd. Shout out to him out there if he's listening. I believe he became a pilot. So cool, okay. Man.
So he's still wearing a hat of some sort then?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dude, Dale, thank you so much. This has been so awesome. Super fun. I definitely want to have you all back in the future. On our way out today, what song do you want to leave us with?
Ooh. I'm guessing I'm not allowed to choose one of ours.
Yes, absolutely. That's what this is all about. This is all about you.
You know what then? Let's go with that. They Live On. It's the latest one. It's ferocious. It's in your face. We think it's just an overload of metal. So yeah, let's go with that. They Live On.
Oh snap! Oh, hang on. I don't have a bell for that. Sorry, I gotta stop pump the brakes here. You said an overload of metal.
Okay.
My band name's Overload.
Okay. Nice shout. Yeah. Go listen to Overload after this one then.
Yes. Here it is. They live on. Yeah. Let me get the stop here. And the stop here.
Maxwell's House of Music in Jeffersonville, Indiana is the premier 12,500 square foot music superstore that has served both the southern Indiana and Louisville, Kentucky metro area for over 4 decades. Originally founded by Marvin and Beverly Maxwell in the 70s, this gym remains a Maxwell family-owned business. Mark Maxwell, along with his business partner, Whitney McNichol, continue the reputation as being a national resource for all things music. In 2022, the iconic Guitar Emporium of Louisville relocated to Maxwell's Music, creating the largest independently owned showroom in the region. The retail offerings at Maxwell's Music includes a huge selection of guitars, basses, amplifiers, effects pedals, modeling amps, keyboards, drums, banjos, mandolins, ukuleles, sound systems, stage lighting equipment, and accessories. The music education program at Maxwell's is second to none. From private instrument and voice lessons to DG, EDM, recording, songwriting, and music theory, to rock school, weekend warriors, and Maxwell's Music Lab, there is something for every age and every ability level. In Repairland, guitar and instrument repairs and refurbishment are taken care of by the Maxwell's team of expert guitar technicians and luthiers. They also do instrument appraisals. Maxwell's offers installations for professional audio-visual and lighting systems for schools, churches, clubs, VFWs, funeral homes, sports fields, and so much more. There's also rentable space at Maxwell's, from music practice or rehearsal rooms for individuals or bands, all the way to a meeting space and concert venue that seats up to 120. That also includes a professional audio-visual and lighting system and a sound booth. Maxwell's has it all. All this plus an original, functioning 1947 recording booth to make your own record, to the Guitar Hero throne, to their very own Elvis statue, and don't forget the Harmony Green Pocket Park. There's a reason Maxwell's House of Music in Jeffersonville, Indiana has been recognized by the National Association of Music Merchants as the #1 award-winning best store design, as well as top 100 music store year after year. You gotta see it to believe it. Maxwell's House of Music in Jeffersonville, Indiana.